And welcome everyone. We are about to get started. How is everyone tonight? I hope all was well and is well. And do me a favor and please let me know in the comments where you are tuning in from. I always love to know, and that way we could also shout you out as well. So, great evening, great evening, great evening, and welcome to the Sonya Dungee podcast, where conversation is always the essence of the soul. I am your host, Sonya Dungee, and yes, of course, always still bringing that heat to the IG, the Facebook, the YouTube, and now TikTok streets. Tonight's episode number 235, 5 Steps to Come to Grips with the Fact That You Are Stuck, is being sponsored by Always Destined for Greatness, B Lips, and Drip City Customs, LLC. So I am going to be checking that chat, but I don't want to take up too much time tonight because there's a lot that I really want to discuss. I'm excited about the Next Boss Masterclass. We will talk about that in a few moments, but let's just go ahead and get started, shall we? So tonight, just so you know, we are not pretending. We're not performing tonight. Tonight, we're telling the truth. The kind of truth that doesn't always feel good, but sets you free. You know how they say the truth will set you free? Well, the truth will set you free tonight. All you have to do is be honest with self. Because some of you that are listening tonight, some that are going to watch the replay later, you've been saying you're tired, but that's really not it. You've been saying you're overwhelmed, but that's not it either. If we are truly honest, you're stuck. And let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt like you were actually moving forward in life? Not surviving, not maintaining, but truly progressing. I'm going to pause on that for a moment. I'm going to ask it again. When was the last time you felt like you were actually moving forward in your life? If you can't answer that clearly, that's your answer. So tonight we are going to go over 5 steps. And those 5 steps will help you come to grips with the fact that you're stuck and how you can move forward from that. So step 1, you got to admit it. You can't change what you even refuse to name. You've been dressing it up. You've been calling it a phase, even calling it stress. But deep down inside, you know. So let me ask you this. What are you avoiding calling what it really is? What are you avoiding by calling it what it really is? Is it fear? Is it pain? Is it disappointment? Or is it the reality that you've been stuck longer than you want to admit? Because once you say it, you take back your power. And this is where I want to interject for a moment, and I want to briefly share with you my story, the reason why I'm here, the reason why I do these podcasts religiously every week. And the truth of the matter is, I was stuck myself. I was so deeply stuck in grief that I couldn't think straight. I didn't know if I was coming or going. And it all began during the height of the pandemic. on the most frigid day of the year, a day that I will never forget. And that was January 23rd of 2020 at the VA hospital in Northport, New York. And just for a quick understanding, not even 2 days before that, I had taken my dad to his doctor's appointment. He went weekly, he went every 2 weeks, it all depended. So this particular time I took him to his doctor's appointment, and this medical personnel that I've never seen, and honestly, truth be told, I don't really want to see her again because bedside manners just wasn't there, and I was totally blindsided, my dad and me. We were put in this small room, barely breathable, and as she sat next to me and I across from my dad, she told us that he had 6 months to live. Imagine the shock. I was speechless. And anybody who knows me, that's I'm never speechless. But something came over me and said, "Sonya, don't show emotion. Stay calm because daddy's looking at you." So, in my mind, my mind started racing and I'm saying, "Okay, if that's so, my dad's going to have the best 6 months that I could possibly help give him." I'm thinking I'm taking everything out of my bedroom, putting it in storage, wherever I didn't even care, getting a hospital bed, lounge chair, all the necessities to make him as comfortable as possible. Fast forward, not even 2 days later, I was called in by the doctor, told me to get there quick. You see, I thought I was then saying goodbye to my dad. And then I went back a couple of hours later, called my siblings, and my daughter so graciously offered to Zoom so that family member, my siblings that couldn't get to in Florida, they could say their goodbyes to my dad. So as I sat there reluctantly at his bedside, holding his hand that I didn't want to, sitting there where I didn't want to be, and it wasn't that I didn't care, it was the denial. It was, if I'm not there, the inevitable is not going to happen. But you see, it did. As I stared at my dad and I witnessed the tear come down his cheek, he took his last breath here on this earth. And I know that next breath was in heaven. I immediately spiraled out of control, kicking, screaming, everything, pleading, all of that. And I remained in isolation, stuck in grief beyond the imaginable for 342 days before I could even move a step forward by seeking help. Because anybody that asked me, I said, I'm okay. And the reason why is because I knew my children were grieving. And I didn't want to add that burden because you see, I just knew it all. And so in the end, I end up being selfish because apparently everybody knew. I lost a lot of weight quickly. I wasn't speaking to anyone. I wasn't spending time with my family, my then 3 amazing, beautiful grandchildren, now blessed with 4. The seconds, the minutes, the hours, the days just seemed to go by. And that continued for almost a year. I didn't leave the house because I was working from home and only had to go across the living room into another room I call my shishi room to work, shutting down everything at the end of the day and walking back into my room and shutting the door. I had a bathroom. My self care was very quick shower, brush teeth, throw on whatever, didn't care. When I left the house, I was going to Calverton National Cemetery to feel a sense of comfort, knowing that my dad's remains were behind the Calabarium wall. But she's saying, conducive to my well being, I made a decision. My mindset shifted. I knew I couldn't do it anymore. I knew I couldn't do it alone. I didn't have to do it alone. I had family, but I didn't want to get them involved. I didn't want to tell them how I was really feeling. So my willpower got me nowhere fast. I didn't know, hey, Sonya, this podcast, go check out support groups. Go find yourself a mentor, a community. That wasn't in my mental Rolodex at the time. But when it was, and I invested in myself because I knew that there was more life ahead of me than there was behind me. And I knew what type of man my dad was and what he would expect of me. And that, honey, that wasn't it. So I invested in myself. I invested in a mentor, yes, monetarily. And with that came community. And it was then that my life forever changed because I was determined to do the work. I was determined to make my my I'm sorry, to make my life purposeful. I knew I was here for purpose when I defeated work. I knew there was more. And that's the reason why I sit before you today as a transformation coach. Because I want to help women that are like how I was. Go from suffering in silence with no direction and no end in sight, but who are ready to put in the work to move forward with an attitude of expectation and excellence so that they achieve economic independence and walk fully in their God-given purpose. So for that, thank you for allowing me to share my story. So on to step number 2. Stop justifying it. Stop justifying where you are. You see, yes, life happened. Yes, people might have hurt you. But let me ask you something real. At what point does your explanation become your excuse? You see, most people run from that. But let me ask you another question. What emotions have you been trying to outrun? How long have you been telling yourself the same old story without changing the outcome, mind you? Because there comes a time when you have to decide, do I keep explaining this or do I start changing this? You see, you can't heal what you keep defending. And I know that's probably a really hard pill to swallow hearing this, but it's true. And I'm not talking to you from textbook. I'm talking to you from experience because I had to answer these same questions. I had to make a decision. I had to stop with all these excuses. I had to change my outcome. Step 3, feel it, don't avoid it. Feel it. Because being stuck, that comes with emotion. Is it anger? Is it grief? Is it fear of starting over again? What would happen if you actually sat with it instead of suppressing it? Because you see, what you don't feel, it doesn't heal. And healing, it's part of movement. Step 4, identify where you stopped. Because it didn't just happen overnight. There was a moment. So think about it. When did you stop believing in yourself the way you used to? When did you stop trying? What happened that made you pull back? I know I shared it in my story. Like I said, it didn't happen overnight. It was 342 days to even admit I was stuck. Because just as in my story, in your story, you paused. And instead of restarting, you stayed there. And now we find that moment so we can move past it. And then there's step 5. Decide if you're truly ready to move. Not wish, not hope, but decide. And that comes with honesty. I need you to be honest with yourself here. Don't do it for me. Do it for yourself. Are you really ready to move forward? Or are you just tired of feeling stuck? Because if you don't realize, they're not the same. What are you afraid will change if you actually move? What are you comfortable holding on to, even if it's hurting you? Movement requires release, and not everyone is ready for that. I get it. But if you truly are, everything changes. So I want to leave you with this. And don't go because we have some more to talk about. You're not stuck because you're incapable. You're not stuck because something hasn't been confronted. I'm sorry, you are stuck because something hasn't been confronted. But tonight, You see, you started confronting it. You sat and you listened. So now I ask you, what are you willing to do with what you now know? What are you willing to do with what you now know? Will you go back to what's familiar, or will you move, even if it's uncomfortable? Because you see, your life, it's not waiting on time, it's waiting on your decision. It's the moment everything begins to shift. Everything begins to shift. That's not a motivation problem. That's a lack of implementation. And that's exactly why I'm hosting something very special. It's the Boss Masterclass, 5 steps to go from stuck to unstoppable. It's not just an ordinary masterclass. This is where you do the work. We start doing the work inside the masterclass. And we're not just going to talk about being stuck either. We're going to identify exactly where you're stuck. And we're going to utilize my color framework to show you what's out of alignment. And we're going to walk through real steps so you leave with a plan, not just a feeling. I don't want you to be inspired. I want to help you through transformation. So if you're listening tonight, or if you're watching the replay later, and something hit you, if you felt seen, if you felt convicted, if you feel like this is me, then let me ask you, are you going to sit with that, or are you going to do something about it? Because you see, staying stuck after awareness, that becomes a choice. So join me on Wednesday, May the 7th at 6:30 p.m. off of social media on a Zoom for the Boss Masterclass, 5 steps to go from stuck to unstoppable. And I need you to hear me when I say this. Come ready. Come ready to be honest. Come ready to confront. Come ready to move. Because this is not for everyone. But this is for the ones who are done with being stuck. You've sat in it long enough. You've carried it long enough. Now it's time to move. And I'll be looking forward to seeing you in the room. So with that being said, you can DM me or comment in the chat, I'm ready. And I will get you the registration link. So until we meet again, be safe, stay well. God bless you all. And before I say bye for now, I just want to see the comments because some of them go away after. Thank you, Harlem, for joining. Thank you, Jacksonville, for joining. And Nettie, I pray that you are feeling better. Thank you from Trinidad for joining. You're definitely ready. Absolutely. I'm so grateful for that. And then the other comments, I will definitely read and I will get back to everyone. I want to thank you again for joining, and I look forward to seeing you really soon. Bye for now.